Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And I brought both of the meditation books with me that I typically read over here, the Melody Beatty meditation books that I love so much. And I was getting ready to start my videos today. I have several videos planned to film for today across several channels. And you know, it's interesting because for a long time, the last video that I would film of the day, well, my review video, because if I'm eating something, I usually make that the last video before I vlog and then I brush my teeth and stuff. But one of the last videos that I would do, if I don't do my review video, is I would always kind of end my day filming on my Peterisms videos. And recently, when I've done my Peterisms videos, I've typically started my day. Well, this is something I've just started recently, like the last month or two. But I have found that starting my filming day, you know, you would think that it probably, I don't know that anybody even thinks about this, that it wouldn't really matter, but, you know, I have 8 channels now. I always end my day, like the last video that I do every single day is my vlog. But where I just sit on the front porch and just kind of talk about my day. It's very cathartic for me. It's kind of like live verbal journaling. But, you know, you would think that probably, I don't know, most people probably think that it doesn't really matter the order that you go in with filming. But I am kind of intentional in how I film my videos, you know? Like, I have to be, like, for my drama channel, if it's kind of like a funny topic or whatever, I want to be in kind of a jovial mood, and I want to be, like, lighthearted and, you know, whatever. And so, to go into these videos, it's very much like going into doing a speaker lead in recovery. So in recovery, in a 12-step program recovery, we give what's called speaker leads, which is where we share a story. And you get up in front of a group of people and you share your story. You talk about, you know, what it was like, what happened and what it's like now. And it's very much kind of like that, you know, that you go into it and you want to feel as prepared as you possibly can. In fact, I know several people that, like, they'll do a prayer with the group before they start to share whatever they're supposed to share. And sometimes, honestly, before I'll do a video, I'll think to myself, okay, like, let me share whatever I'm supposed to share or say, or let me be funny, or let me be, you know, like, whatever stories are supposed to come out of me, I sometimes say that. Not always, but I sometimes do. But, you know, I would say recently, maybe more like in the last month, I have some days started my filming schedule with my Peterisms videos and reading meditations on here. And it's been really, really good for me because, you know, I start my day in the morning, well now, with the dogs, taking the dogs out and stuff like that. But, you know, I start my day with doing my prayers and meditations and doing a gratitude list and things like that. And that really kind of like, I talked about this the other day, so I'm not going to get into it again, but that kind of focuses me for my day. It sets kind of a foundation for my day going forward. And I think that starting my videos, like, I'm not going to say that I'm going to do this every single day, but starting my videos with my Peterisms channel really kind of sets a foundation going forward. Reading these meditations, it kind of gets me, you know, like, I feel very comfortable on this channel, just like reading the meditations and sharing stories of my life. I don't know, I've noticed that on the days that I start filming on this channel first, that the rest of the videos just flow very, very naturally. Isn't that interesting how that happens? So anyway, so I thought today I would start with my Peterisms channel. So this is the very first video that I don't know what order it'll go up, but this is the very first video that I am filming for the day. So, like I said, I brought both the Melody Beatty books with me. The other day I was going to read 2 different meditations, I think. Today is, I believe it's the 18th. Yes, 18th. The other day I was going to read 2 different meditations, and I think I only ended up reading 1. So let me see what the meditation is for today. September 18th, letting the good stuff happen. Oh, that might be a good one. It's kind of a long one. And the one for yesterday was new relationship behaviors. The 16th was revenge. Yeah, I was going to read the one about revenge, and I didn't do that. So let's start with revenge first. I always think that that's kind of an interesting topic to discuss. My opinions about revenge have really changed through the years. And I think are constantly changing. You know, the way that I feel about revenge today is definitely not the way that I felt about revenge at 20 or, you know, at different periods of my life depending on what I was going through. Revenge, September 16th. No matter how long we've been recovering, no matter how solid our spiritual ground, we may still feel an overwhelming desire at times to punish or get even with another person. We want revenge. We want to see the other person hurt the way he or she has hurt us. We want to see life deal that person just rewards. In fact, we would like to help life out. Those are normal feelings, but we do not have to act on them. These feelings are part of our anger, but it's not our job to deal justice. We can allow ourselves to feel the anger. It is helpful to go one step deeper and let ourselves feel the other feelings, the hurt, the pain, the anguish. But our goal is to release the feelings and be finished with them. We can hold the other person accountable. We can hold the other person responsible. But it is not our responsibility to be judge and jury. Actively seeking revenge will not help us. It will block us and hold us back. Walk away. Stop playing the game. Unhook. Learn your lesson. Thank the other person for having taught you something valuable and be finished with it. Put it behind with the lesson intact. Acceptance helps. So does forgiveness. Not the kind that invites that person to use us again, but a forgiveness that releases the other person and sets him or her free to walk a separate path while releasing our anger and resentments. That sets us free to walk our own path. Today I will be as angry as I need to be with the goal of finishing my business with others. Once I have released my hurt and anger, I will strive for healthy forgiveness. Forgiveness with boundaries. I understand that boundaries, coupled with forgiveness and compassion, will move me forward. I think that revenge is a really normal feeling. I think TV shows and movies are centered around the idea of revenge and books. And, there's entire TV shows and movies and books and pop culture ideas and songs and everything that are all just about the story of one person getting revenge. And I think, like I said, my opinions changed a lot about revenge through the years. I think all of us, inside of us, have this desire to want to tell on somebody, which I think is a form of revenge. Like, if you knew this person, if you knew what they did to me, if you really saw them the way that I saw them, then I would feel validated. Or if I got revenge, then that would take away whatever had happened, or the end would justify the means. When you look at revenge, and I've looked at a lot of my feelings of revenge through the years, it always comes back to us. Like, it always starts and ends with me, right? My feelings of revenge. Like the saying that what people say is like, what is it? Like, revenge is like, drinking poison, expecting it to hurt the other person kind of thing. And I believe that to be true. When I've looked at those feelings that I've had for the years, like, it's really that I do want that person to hurt the way that I hurt. But really the answer to that is, because I'm on my own journey, I'm living my own life, I have my own experience, really the answer to that is like me even getting revenge on that other person, even let's just say if I did. Let's just say if somebody wronged me and I got revenge on them and it felt justified and I felt good, that still doesn't take away the pain. And I know that people will say, well, it lessens it a little bit. Does it? That has not been my experience in life. It's almost similar to me as like wanting to go buy something because you think it's going to make you feel better. And it does for the moment. Or, as a person in recovery, drinking or using because it's going to take away those feelings. And it does. It numbs it for a moment. I think that acting on revenge is very similar to that. I think it numbs it for a moment, but it doesn't take away the initial pain. I can remember I had a supervisor when I was working in treatment, and she did this exercise where she would have people like say words that we would, like mean words to each other. And every time they would say one, like she would have them say it out loud. And then she had this block of wood with a nail and a hammer. And she would take the nail and she would say the words out loud that you said to this other person. And she would like bang the nail in. And then at the end of the exercise, she took the nail out and she said to the person, now fill the hole up. And they said, what do you mean? And she's like, can you fill the hole up? Can you make it, fixed again? Can you make it brand new? And they're like, no. And she's like, but you can fill the hole up. And they're like, yeah, I mean, we could, put paper in it. We could put glue in it. We could fill it up. But would it be the same? Well, no, it'll never be the same as it was before. We will never be the same people that we were before somebody hurt us, before what was done to us, before some event happened in our life. We'll never be that same person again. And so the idea of revenge, I think, is based on wanting to hurt the other person. It all begins and ends with us. When I really understood that, and I really had to ask myself the question, because even if you ask yourself that question, you say, and yes, and I still want revenge. I still want to have justifiable anger. I still want to feel like I'm justified that I get revenge. I was wrong. I want the other person to know I was wrong. I want the other person to feel what I feel. And let's just say you do all that and you accomplish that. It might lessen your pain a little bit for the moment, But it doesn't take it away. It doesn't take how it's affected your life for the last 6 months to 6 years to 20 years. It doesn't take that away. It's still going to affect you. Now, I don't know about you, but the lesson that I had to learn is I have one life on this earth. I do not want to spend it consumed with teaching somebody else a lesson that they may never learn at the expense of wasting my time here. I'm just not willing to do that. So if the two answers that I have is either get revenge or work through my own pain to enjoy my life better, then that's the one I choose. And I know some people will say, well, can't you also get revenge and work through your pain? Yeah, but that's time consuming. There's a lot there. I don't know that I have that much time. So for me, if I have to pick one, I'd rather work on what happened to me and the feelings that I have. And when I've done that in my life, when I've worked through what the other person has done, and I've looked at it, and it's not an excuse, but I've seen that that other person was sick, or they had been hurt, or they were a miserable person, or they had their own issues that they needed to deal with. Like I said, it's not an excuse, but it was an understanding. It helped me understand the situation better. For me easier to be able to move through the pain to the other side, and then go, you know what, I don't want to be stuck in that pain forever. I love the definition years ago that I heard of forgiveness, because she talks about forgiveness in here. That forgiveness is accepting that what happened to us happened. Not that it was okay, like she said in the meditation, that not that what happened to us was okay, but that it happened. And now what are you going to do about it so you are not held hostage to the event of your past? Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be held hostage to stuff that happened to me in my past. I just don't. Sometimes I don't even want to be reminded of it. Well, when I'm in this is where we talk about forgiveness is really for you, not for the other person. When I'm in a constant state of like feeling like revenge and wanting to get even and wanting the other person to know how I felt, and I'm constantly in that mindset, then I am held hostage to the events of my past. I am the one that is not allowed to move on. I am the one that is constantly drinking the poison. I am ate up with it. It has been proven to me, something that I learned in early recovery, okay, is that when I am consumed with something, sometimes the other person has gone on and lived their life and they're not even thinking about me anymore, you know? And that has been proven to me time and time and time and time again, that I have spent so much time wanting to understand the why of something, wanting to understand why they did this to me, what was wrong with me, and it really, all of it comes back to me. So really what that says is the work is about me. Well, that doesn't seem fair, does it? That this person did this really crappy thing to me, or they hurt me in this really crappy way, and I'm the one that has to do the work. Well, that's where I take that stuff and I look at it like she says, thank you for the lesson. I have now learned greater things about the world. And you know, and I think when I first started working on this, I thought the lesson was things like people are not to be trusted. Don't date. There's no reason to get in romantic relationships because they'll always screw you over. Don't trust people with money. Don't trust, you know, this. I mean, that was where my mind was. Those were the lessons. That is not the lesson I have learned today after 30 years of doing intensive work. The lesson I've learned today is that people constantly surprise me for the positive. You know, I've learned about the kindness of strangers out there. I have learned that, you know, people will show you grace in ways that you were never able to show yourself when you don't even ask for it. You know, I've learned that there are living angels on earth every single day. You have to look for them. I have learned that there is a lot of good in this world, that if I focus on wanting to see the evil and the negative, I will find the evil and the negative. But if I want to see the positive, it is out there too, and I can find that. Those are the lessons I've learned through the years. But I had to move away from this idea that I'm going to get even and I'm going to get revenge. That stuff is the stuff of movies. And I don't live in a movie. I live in the real world where I could be gone tomorrow, I could be gone next week, I could be gone next year or 10 years. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to spend that time so focused on what somebody did to me that I'm going to give them justice. I'm not the justice maker. And to be honest with you, when I've worked on this stuff and I moved past the point, and I'm not going to say that I'm like looked at people and been like, I forgive you for what? I don't even know that I think sometimes that that's part of the healing process or that people deserve that. I don't know. Like, it's different for me. But I'll be honest with you, sometimes when I work through that stuff, it's taken away the power of the event. I don't even care what that person's doing anymore. I really don't. The pain still exists. The scars still exist. The wounds of what happened to me, there will be a reminder of that going forward, but I'm not consumed with that person anymore. They don't rent space in my head for free. I allowed for years and years and years for people to rent space in my head for free. My goal going into this year, and I've talked a lot about this on a lot of my channels, is, last year, my goal was that living in the present moment. This year, I wanted to take that goal and I wanted to kind of improvise it a little bit more. And so I took that goal and I said, living my best moment, living in the present moment. And then I said, living in the present moment, asking myself, are you living your best life in this present moment? Whether that's being on a fantastic trip, whether that's reading a book, whether that's being outside with my dogs, whether that's getting a fountain pop with my best friend, whatever that moment is, in that moment, am I living my best life? And if not, what would I change about this moment? I can tell you that my go-to typically isn't in that moment. I would go to fixating on an event from my past that I was so painfully hurt and I'm now seeking revenge. I don't know that that would be living my best life, just personally. Maybe it would be for you, but for me it wouldn't. Or being consumed with that. I have spent years of my life with being consumed with people that have hurt me. And I feel like I just gave that time away, The other thing that was my lesson this year, and this has been one of the most valuable lessons of this year, or of my life, is asking myself, where am I giving my energy? To whom am I giving my energy to? Is this situation worth my energy? And what I realized is I was giving my energy away to a lot of things that did not deserve my energy or were wasting my energy. And now that I don't do that, I have a lot more energy for things I really enjoy. So really, when you talk about seeking revenge, and something I've had to learn, and I'm not going to say that I don't have the feeling. I'm not going to say that every once in a while I'm not like, I'd like this person to have their day in the sun. I'd like people to really know. I still have those feelings. It's not that I don't have those feelings and I don't think about revenge. I mean, it's not about that. But when I work through it with the tools I have, what I realize is I don't want to be the person that's consumed with that, because then I'm the one that pays. I'm the one that's wasting my life. I can't focus on a walk or a book or a TV show because I'm in my head, just this, the noise. I don't know about you, but I'm trying to eliminate noise in my head these days. I'm trying to find peace and serenity instead of focusing on the noise that complicates my life. I have known a lot of people in my life, some of them that lived very full lives, lived into their 80s and 90s, that were very bitter, angry people that focused on the negative. Even people that I've known that were sober, that did not have, there's something we say in recovery is that find somebody that has what you want. I know people that were sober the majority of their life, lived good long lives, sober, and they didn't have what I want because they were so focused on negativity and letting people rent space in their head. They never learned that. Well, that's a lesson to me. You lived to be in your 80s and 90s and you never learned that. And it affected you. And every encounter that I would have with them would be so negative. They weren't happy and they were miserable and they were affecting people around them. I don't want that. I want to live, my mom, when she got sober at 51, and when I talked to her afterwards, she said, whether I live another year or another 10 years, I want the quality of my life to improve. That sentiment is true for me today. I want the quality of my life to improve. And when I am fixated on getting somebody theirs or proving what somebody is really like to somebody else, I'm not a happy person. Like, I don't feel happy inside. I don't feel full. I feel angry and miserable and driven, and not in a good way. And so for me, revenge is rather pointless. I think it's a good idea for movies and books and TV shows, and I love to watch that stuff and read it. And maybe that's how I get that out for myself, that Sally Joe in a book gets revenge, and maybe I feel her, like her justice. But for me in the real world, it just doesn't work that way. I don't feel fulfilled. And I have in my life sought revenge and got revenge. And it doesn't have the feeling that I want it to have, any more than me going and buying something that I think in that moment is going to make me so happy. And in the moment, it kind of does. It numbs it. But then later, it's just something that I'm looking at, my kitchen counter. And I'm like, okay, but that thing doesn't make me happy, And so I think that's what it's about. It's about getting rid of those distractions, working through the pain, realizing what the pain was about. And is there something that I can learn from it? And one of the greatest lessons I've learned is life is fragile. We're here but for a moment. on those moments that we're not having to work or spend time taking care of things at home or our families or our kids or our parents, and we don't have other obligations, in those moments, I want to be living my best life. However I define that in that moment. I want to be living my best life. I don't want to be consumed with negativity. I've known people like that. And it's wasted love. It's wasted life to me. I almost said wasted love like Sister Rose. It's a wasted life to me. It makes me sad. And that alone is a lesson for me. You know, it's like, I look at that and I think, I don't want that. Like, they don't have what I want. It makes me sad for them that they're so willing to just hand over their life to just absolute misery. And they'll be the first ones to tell you, I'm not miserable. I'm not unhappy. But they're shouting from the mountaintops about what somebody did wrong and who this person is. They're always wanting to tell on somebody, you know? Okay, if that's happy to you, maybe you need it, like, I don't know, for me, sometimes, like, I didn't know what happiness was until, like, my friend Tanya and I talk about this a lot, that back in the day, we had a group of people that we hung out with, and we were always, like, you know, talking and sharing stories, and this person was dating that person. It was very exciting, and blah, blah, blah. I don't miss that today. She doesn't, I mean, it was a lot, you know? I loved it back then, but I don't miss that today. You know, that was in my late 20s. I don't miss that today. The peace, the serenity, and the quiet today is so comforting for me. So, that's what I know. I don't know much, but I do know that. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.